this is a scoring video for the TGMD-2. This is the example that we're using. I've named this student Jim. He is a male. The date of testing was 9/5/2019. His date of birth is 11/5/2013, and he is 5 years 10 months. So for this student named Jim, I marked that he used his right hand and his right foot at the top. As he was performing his skills, I marked down what he was able to do in each item for the first trial, the second trial, and added up the trials. Each skill gets a skill score. So he scored a 6 for running, a 6 for galloping, a 4 for hopping, and a 4 for leaping. Flip it over. 5 for a horizontal jump, and a 7 for sliding. You add up those numbers, and that gives you the locomotor subtest raw score, which was a 32 in Jim's case. You're going to do the same thing for your object control. So you can see he did not demonstrate dominant hand grip for the first attempt, so he scored a 0. He did for the second, so a 1 there. I did the same thing. For striking a stationary ball, he got 7. Stationary dribble, he scored 2. Catching, he scored a 5. Kicking, an 8. Overhand throw, a 5. And underhand roll, a 6. Adding those up, that's a total object control subtest raw score of 33. So I'm going to take the locomotor subtest raw score, which was 32, and I'm going to put that on the front page right here, 32, next to locomotor. Then I'm going to take the one we added up for the object control subtest raw score, which was a 33, and I'm going to put it next to object control. So we're now going to take the raw score and convert that into the standard scores. For the TGMD-2, locomotor is the same for male and female. So we're going to go over to look at this converting subtest raw scores to percentiles and standard scores, locomotor subtest female and male. So we know that the student at the time of testing was 5 years 10 months. So I'm going to go along here at the top to find 5 years where he would fit in. So this column here goes from 5.6 through 5.11 years. So I'm going to go using this column. I'm going to go down, and locomotor, he scored a 32. So I'm going to go down until I find 32, which is right there. 32, and it says to 34. Okay. So then I'm going to go to the right, and that gives me his standard score. Up at the top column, it says standard score. So he got a standard score of 9. I'm going to go ahead and write that right under standard score for locomotor. If I go to the left, to the end column, that's going to give me my percentile. His percentile is 37. And I'm going to write that locomotor percentile 37. So now we're going to look at object control. Our student Jim scored 33 for object control, and we're going to work out the standard score and percentile for that 33. Now we're going to go to the conversion tables. For the object control, there is a difference between female and male. Now, Jim is a male, so I'm going to look at converting subtest raw scores to percentiles and standard scores, object control, subtest male. We know that Jim is 5 years, 10 months at the time of testing, so I'm going to go along to find where he falls. So this column here is 5.6 years through 5.11 years. So he falls right here. He scored a 33. So again, just like the locomotor, I'm going to go down until I find 33. And that is right there. This is giving me a range between 33 and 35. Okay. So just the same as what we did for the locomotor, I'm going to go to the right to find the standard score. In this case, he scored a 10. I'm going to go over here to my protocol sheet and write a 10 for object control, standard score. Now I'm going to find the percentile. So I'm going to go back to the left. And that is a 50 right there. In the column at the very top, it says percentiles. He scored a 50. So I'm going to take that 50 and I'm going to put it under percentiles, object control. Now we're going to calculate the sum of the standard scores. So I'm going to take this 9 and 10 and add them together. And we've got 19. I'm going to write 19 right there. So once we've got our 19, we're going to figure out the gross motor quotient. Now I'm going to move over to the table, converting sums of subtest standard scores to percentiles and quotients. Okay, so he scored 19. So I'm going to go up the middle here because it says sum of standard scores and find where number 19 is. And 19 is right there. I'm going to go to the right, and the right is the quotient. So let me circle that, and that is 97. I'm going to take that 97 and write it where it says gross motor quotient. To the left of that 19 is the percentile rank. So he scored a 42 in the percentile rank. So under percentile, there's a line. I'm going to put 42 on that line. Now we're going to work out the age equivalent of the student Jim's skills. We're going to go to converting subtest raw scores to age equivalent. Now we're going to use the raw scores here. And his raw scores for locomotor was 32, object control 33. So let's start with the locomotor, a score of 32. So we're going to find the column, locomotor. Remember, locomotor, the male and female are on the same column. So we're going to go down until we find the number 32. Right there. Circle that. So if I move to the left, this column is going to give me an age equivalent, and that is 5.3. I'm going to take that 5.3 and I'm going to put it under age equivalent, locomotor, on the protocol sheet. Now we're going to work out the age equivalent for object control. Again, we're going to use the raw score for this. His raw score was 33. Now, object control, there is a difference between male and female. So on the converting subtest raw scores to age equivalent table, we're going to look for object control male. Jim is a male. we're going to go look for number 33. So we're going to go down the column to find number 33 right here. So this one gives us a range from 33 to 34. I'm going to circle that. I'm going to go to the right, the age equivalent, and that's going to give me an age equivalent of 5.9. I'm going to take that 5.9 and I'm going to put it on the protocol sheet under age equivalent object control. 5.9. On the converting subtest raw scores to age equivalents table, at the very bottom, there is a descriptive rating of scores. This can be very useful when giving information to parents about, is your child above average, average, below average. So what we're going to do in this case, we're going to take the gross motor quotient that we have for little Jim. So Jim's gross motor quotient was 97. I'm going to look and find his range here. So he has a range between 90 and 110. So he falls between here, which means he's average. We're also going to look at the percentile score. So little Jim's percentile score was 42. So again, I'm going to look along this column here. So this column, this goes between 25 and 75th percentile, and he was a 42. So he's going to fall in there, which going across also falls in the average range. So when you're writing your reports, this can be useful to give parents information about little Jim is average motor skills for his age. After finding out his descriptive rating of scores, just here I like to make a note of average motor skill range, so that when I'm writing my report, I already know what I've calculated for him. On the protocol sheet, it says profile of standard scores. So we're going to complete this section by finding the standard score for locomotor and object control. So Jim's standard score for locomotor was 9. I'm going to go up this column, find number 9, and I'm going to put a little circle around that dot. Then I'm going to take a look at his object control, which was a 10, and I'm going to go up the column and find the number 10 and put a circle right there. I'm also going to find the gross motor quotient. So in this case, Jim's gross motor quotient was 97. So I'm going to again go up the quotient column to find 97 is between 95 and 100, and I'm going to put a little circle right there. And we can see that he's right in the average range, the blue up here and the blue down here, and there's a white section here that shows the average range. So section 3, testing conditions. Place tested was playground. Noise level, it goes from interfering to not interfering on a scale of 1 to 5. Noise level was not interfering. We had 0 interruptions. There was no distractions. The light was not interfering. And the temperature was not interfering. The temperature was very comfortable.